Welcome to another news update. Today we're going to talk about apartment vacancy rates. There's a lot of concern that we've overbuilt downtown with the apartments. So we're going to cover some of the numbers that were just released. We're going to talk about some new apartments that were just announced. We're going to talk about a little breaking real estate news. And then we're going to finish with everyone's favorite topic in Fort Wayne, new construction for roads. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Jake McAfee. Please make sure and hit that subscribe button. Also leave a comment. The dialogue is very important. I don't want these to just be, me talking alone, giving my opinion. I want to have a dialogue so that people who are moving to the area or live in the area and are trying to learn get a little bit of different perspectives. And if you're already subscribing and you're a regular watcher, a regular viewer, welcome back and thank you so much for the support. All right, now the hot topic that's been debated over the last few years with all the new construction that we've had. I mean, if you've been downtown in the last couple of years, you see cranes, towers, there's new apartments going up everywhere. The city has never seen anything like it, and it has a lot of people concerned. So the city of Fort Wayne just released a market analysis study that was done by Zimmerman and Volk Associates. They're an independent market analysis firm. So they ran Fort Wayne analysis, downtown Fort Wayne analysis, and they concluded that we can actually absorb 263 new apartments every year for the next 5 years. And that's actually up. So in 2021, they did the same study and they concluded that we could absorb 212. So despite all the construction, despite all the new options for renters, they've actually concluded that we can absorb more new apartments. They also concluded that we can absorb 78 for sale units downtown, which is a pretty good number. Our downtown isn't huge, so 78 sales is quite a few. And in the study, there was 10 downtown properties, and that represented about 1,600 apartments. 7 of those have been built since 2018. So again, downtown apartments are pretty much all brand new with a few exceptions. Even some of the older ones like Three Rivers has new ownership and they've been totally renovated. But in that study, half of them, so 5 of the 10, were at 95% or above occupancy, which is basically considered full functional occupancy. People are always going to be moving in and out, so 95% they're basically calling full. 3 of the 10 were at 91%, and the remaining 2 are brand new and they're in the lease up phase. So essentially, everyone is either at full occupancy or over 90%. So that tells you that there has been a strong demand despite the high prices. If you've seen some of these prices and you've been out of the rental game for a while, a studio apartment for $1,400 may blow your mind, but that's the going rate. There's not a lot of options. There's clearly the demand, and that's going to push up pricing. So the only way to bring pricing down, or at least even stabilize it, is more options, and that's what we have coming. They also ran a study on East Central. So everybody knows West Central. That's a really popular neighborhood just west of downtown. East Central is kind of an up and coming area near Indiana Tech, and they determined that East Central can absorb 58 multifamily rentals per year and 20 for sale housing units. I actually just sold one in there. It needed quite a bit of work, and it took a little bit of time, but we got somebody and he's gonna be using it as an Airbnb, so the new buyer. So please leave a comment, let us know, what do you think about all these apartments? It's a lot of change, it's a lot of risk, there's a lot of money being invested, but as of right now, it appears that we have a very strong, robust, healthy rental market. Okay, keeping in line with that is another new apartment was just announced. It's called the Eddy. This is gonna be located at the Wells Street Wedge. That's 2.28 acres, right over, right across from Promenade Park, like the northwest side of the river. There's a little triangle there near the St. Mary's River, and it's connected to the park by the Wells Street Bridge, just so right where Wells Street goes, it's like right there. You should be seeing some B-roll of that now. It's gonna have 111 market rate apartments, 236 parking spaces in a garage. That'll also have some public parking, which I think is a very good thing. And it'll have 3,300 square feet of ground floor retail space. So first floor retail, and then the rest of the units will be above with a parking garage. Being named the Eddy because that's like from an eddy with a river, and an eddy is a section where the water flows in the opposite direction of the main current, and that creates like a calm pocket of water. So that's why they went with that name. Originally, I think there was one that was gonna be called the Wedge because of the Wells Street Wedge, but Apparently they decided not to do that. Parking garage is gonna be done in 2027 and the building itself will be done in 2028. So a little bit of time on that one, but I mean, it's gonna really start bringing together, you've got that Wells Street corridor, and then you've obviously got, all the riverfront. So I think it's just gonna have more people who are gonna be able to support these local businesses. And then another new apartment, if you remember, I don't think it was last year, was it 2 years ago? I did an exclusive look. The St. Joe Nursing Dorm downtown, right by the brand new Lutheran Hospital, is being converted into apartments. It's actually a friend of mine and his business partner, Tom, who's a great guy. They're both great guys. They're gonna be, or they have been spearheading this project. It's been a ton of work. I mean, I was, first helping them get a feel for downtown back in, right when I moved back, late 2019, early 2020, before COVID hit. And now here they are still working on it. This is at the corner of Van Buren and Wayne near Main Street. The units are gonna range between about $1,000 for studio apartments up to $1,600. So they have 39 units. And they have 1 2-bedroom, and then the rest are studios and 1-bedrooms. The parking garage will have 55 spots available for lease. Every unit is gonna have a washer and a dryer in it, and they try to reuse as much of the original materials as possible. It's in the historical district, so there was a lot of regulations and limitations with that. They refinished a lot of the terrazzo. They kept some original fireplaces in, all the windows are original. But then all the appliance, electric, heating and cooling units are all brand new, so they'll still be pretty energy efficient. They were surprisingly quiet. My friend said he was touring with, I think it was the COO of Lutheran, and because they might have get some units in there since it's right across the street, and they were surprised at how quiet it was. So finishing up right now, there was some touch-up paint. I just toured it yesterday, so there was a few touch-up paint, minor things that they need to do, and then they'll be ready to lease. So if you've been wanting to get downtown, you want something a little bit different, it's not cookie cutter. Actually, every unit has a different floor plan because of the way with repurposing this building, there was a lot of limitations on what they could do. So there's some pretty quirky units in there that are actually pretty cool. I think if you're looking for something different, this is definitely gonna be your option. But it just goes to show, just right in line with those vacancy rates, we need more housing, and especially right there across the street from the hospital. I think this is a no-brainer. This place has been an eyesore for 30, 40 years. Homeless people living in there, doing drugs, really destroying the place and kind of frankly scaring the people in the surrounding area. So this was sorely needed, and it took somebody, like my friend and his partner who have, the gumption and the fortitude to go do it, and they did it, and I'm very proud of them. It was very cool. Okay, so last month we talked about the Pizza Hut mansion, the Freeland mansion in Southwest Fort Wayne went for sale. The iconic home, right at the street from me. So shout out for the appreciation, Freeland mansion. That actually has sold. It was listed for $6,750,000, and they got a full price offer right away, a cash offer, so $6,750,000 cash. It is already closed. The owner has chosen to remain anonymous, which obviously don't blame him at all. I've heard some things about who it is, but it was an inside source that I don't feel comfortable sharing. So very exciting, kind of an end of an era in Fort Wayne. The Freeland family has done a lot for the city. Obviously, with that kind of wealth and with that kind of money, they could have lived anywhere, and they had Pizza Huts all over Ohio, and I think some in Kentucky, but definitely Ohio. They could have lived in Columbus or Cincinnati or something like that, but they chose to stay here in Fort Wayne, invest in the community, and I think that's a wonderful thing when you've got options. So, it's kind of sad that the family no longer owns it, but, an exciting new chapter is starting, and they have said they're gonna keep it as a residential space, so they're not gonna try to convert it into a museum and all these rumors that I heard. None of that's true. So very cool, and very thankful for what the Freeland family has done. All right, we're gonna close with Fort Wayne's favorite topic, road construction. Nothing gets people fired up on Facebook like road construction. So they just announced a very big project on Goshen Road between Coliseum and Cambridge Boulevard. They're gonna be doing quite a bit, some pretty big plans. So they're gonna be widening the road, installing pedestrian facilities. They're gonna make it ADA compliant. There's gonna be some street lighting and urban landscaping, so it's gonna be a little prettier. You're gonna be able to ride bikes or walk along there, and then it's gonna be widened. So additionally, they're gonna have a roundabout now at Butler Road and Harris Road. They're gonna have a roundabout there. and which I think is important. I mean, this area continues to grow. I know nobody loves construction, and neither do I. I get impatient too, but as we continue to grow, especially that area, the 08 has seen a big resurgence. There's a lot of people moving there. You know, it's downtown adjacent. You've got Franke Park that they just did a ton of renovations to. The zoo is right there. So I think they realized that the long-term projection was gonna be more traffic, and they needed to be able to accommodate. So, you know, I think that's really important. This is gonna be done in 2 phases. So it's not right away. So they've been planning it for the last year. Phase 2 is gonna be in 2028 and 2029. And then phase 3 is gonna be 2030 and 2031, with basically the whole project wrapping up early to mid 2030s, which is crazy to talk about. But I mean, if being in my 40s has taught me anything, it's that time is absolutely flying. You know, they said what you can expect, 2-way traffic will be maintained, and access to public streets and properties will be preserved. There's obviously gonna be, you know, noise, dust, traffic delays, so obviously plan on that. But again, you know, just kind of putting a bow on it, I think having it safer, more attractive, more functional is a good thing as that area continues to grow. But let me know what you think. I know, again, if there's ever a sign of how good we have it in our modern society, just go look at the comments section in road construction. So if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I've really enjoyed doing these updates. It kind of keeps me in the know, and the numbers on these videos have been great. So, you know, please leave a comment, leave your opinion. Even if we disagree on something, that's okay. I want the dialogue. But if you agree and you think I'm smart, feel free to say that too. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button, click that notification bell, and we'll catch you on the next video.